it's kind of a theory called like Forever Washington. Basically, once you're in Washington and you can play the game and you get in there and you stay in there, and the way that you stay in is to make millions of dollars through stock trades.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Angel Research Podcast. We are here, as usual, to discuss the market's hottest stock stories and investment opportunities. We've got Alex Boulden joining us on the show today. Alex is the investment director of the weekly market advisory Insider Stakeout, and he's here to talk to us about insider trading. Per our usual disclaimer, nothing that we say here is personal financial advice. We can give you tools and insights to make great trading decisions, but we cannot make those trading decisions for you. Also, please like, comment, and subscribe. The engagement really helps us out. Mr. Boulden, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. It's great to be back.
It's good to have you here. So I kind of want to start off with some heavy insider selling that we're seeing at major banks right now over the last year. Could you comment on that at all?
Yeah, sure. We're seeing something what I'm calling the survival of the wealthiest. And a lot of insiders at banks, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, they're selling shares in record numbers. We had the president of retail and preferred and small business banking, Dean Athanasia, I think that's how you say it. He sold nearly $5 million worth of stock at $45.77. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that he's, bearish on the market as a whole or for his bank. Insiders can sell for any number of reasons. He might be building a bomb shelter, but most likely he needs the money. I mean, inflation is super high. We just had numbers come out today. CPI rose 0.4%, which was higher than analysts expected of 0.2%. So annually it's up 8.2%, and we're back to 40-year highs. So most likely, billionaires need money too. So the more money you have, the more money you spend, and that's probably why they're selling.
Yeah, I've heard before there's only one reason why insiders buy, and there's 1,000 reasons why they might sell. So
yes.
All right. While we're on the topic of banks, there's some speculation going on, and I don't know how much you can really kind of comment on this, but there's some speculation that Credit Suisse, kind of a designated too big to fail bank, may be going under. They're starting to kind of sell some assets. I noticed, ironically, that their chairman is Axel Lehman, and if this wasn't already a flashback to 2008, I was thinking that might be. Is there any relation to the Lehman brothers there, or?
I don't think there's any relation. He's got an extra N at the end of his name, so no, there's no relation.
Do you know anything about the Credit Suisse situation?
A little bit. From what I've seen, they need to raise approximately $9 billion to stay afloat. They're talking about maybe doing a stock offering, but obviously that would bring the price even lower, and It's sitting at $4.40 right now. If you're an employee of that company and you're getting paid in stock, you're down 60% or something. So I don't think employees are too happy right now, and they just got a new chairman. So,
are you seeing any insider selling within Credit Suisse, or is it just you mentioned Bank of America and Wells Fargo earlier?
That's what I saw. I'm not sure if there's.
You haven't noticed any yet.
I haven't noticed any yet, and I don't think there is anything of record from what I was looking at.
Okay, and I know this is definitely kind of a speculative question, but do you expect another bailout for the banks? Is this something that the public kind of you would think they would have a stomach for, or?
It's hard to say. I mean, according to The Atlantic, Credit Suisse is one of the banks that are too big to fail. So if they needed a bailout, they would probably get one.
Yep.
I don't really think the public likes that all that much. Just optics, it just doesn't look good. But I would say that they would get one if they needed it.
Seems like one of those things, damned if we do, damned if we don't.
Right.
All right. So on the flip side, the banking industry, we're seeing some heavy selling, but in the airline industry, we're seeing some heavy buying, at least by the companies themselves. Obviously the airlines got pummeled by COVID over the last couple of years. They spent $45 billion buying back stocks, but now they apparently want a $50 billion bailout. do airlines deserve a bailout? And what happens if they don't get it?
So I know that airlines make up 2.3% of the U.S. GDP, so that's roughly $850 billion. It's a huge industry, and we can't really let the airlines go under. I know that Delta Airlines, there's been some insider buying, and I know that there also is an investigation by House Democrats, I believe, of whether the funds were used properly from the previous bailout.
Sure.
So we'll see. I think that if they can prove that they use the funds properly, then they would be more willing to give them another bailout.
Yeah, so personally, I'm pretty much always against bailouts, but in this particular case, the government did kind of put out restrictions that directly impacted their business during lockdowns and things like that. So I think there maybe is an argument to be made, and that's just kind of my personal opinion on that. All right, let's move on to kind of, I think, what is probably a little bit more juicy. We have this potential ban or a push to ban congressional trading. But apparently Nancy Pelosi has kind of delayed some proceedings on that stock trade bill. And I was hoping you could kind of, help us out in understanding what's going on there. What does that bill do? Why exactly is she delaying it? Go from there.
Yeah. I think that this goes back to what the public really wants is our leaders not to be meddling in insider trading activity. And when it comes to Nancy Pelosi, I mean, she makes all the headlines because her husband makes all the trades and he has a better track record than like Warren Buffett. And it's like these guys are, professional investors. How is he able to
We're supposed to
make
believe
so much money?
Yeah. It's I feel like everyone knows what's going on.
Yes.
But she gets away with it, or they get away with it.
They get away with it. It's hard to say why she would. Well, it's not really hard to say why she would block it. I mean,
because at this point she's already made so much money.
She's made so much money. Like, why would you want to keep going?
Mm-hmm.
Some people are arguing that it's just a power play, that she wants to remain in power.
Yep.
There's something that is called it's kind of a theory called like Forever Washington. Basically, once you're in Washington and you can play the game and you get in there and you stay in there, and the way that you stay in is to make millions of dollars through stock trades. So that's why we're seeing it on both sides of the aisle. It's not a Democrat or Republican thing.
It is nice to see it's nice to see a bipartisan bill, right? It's kind of like the far left has developed a coalition with some conservatives, and that's kind of what is pushing this. It's almost like the anti-establishments on the outside.
Yeah. So there is the bill that is attempting to be passed. It would require that lawmakers not place their investments in individual stocks. They would have to put it in a blind trust. And it also applies to family and people who work closely with them. So they could either like divest all of their assets or place them in a blind trust. It was before Congress took a break. I believe Nancy Pelosi said that they were going to vote on this. Obviously, it was delayed for more pressing issues. I just don't think that this is at the top of their list. We're in the investment industry, so we kind of see it as a big deal.
Sure.
I think a lot of people don't really care all that much. But as it's starting to gain traction, like on social media, you'll see like on TikTok, they'll have like, follow Nancy Pelosi trades.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, usually is not the best idea. But
are there any legitimate counter arguments to this legislation, or is it essentially just like it's very difficult to pass because these people are essentially putting restrictions on themselves? I mean, the only counter argument that I can think of is that it might discourage certain people from running for Congress, but I think it would probably discourage greedy people from running.
Right. I think maybe if there wasn't an incentive for being a politician, like monetarily, then yes. But right now, the way that kind of money runs politics, it kind of makes sense. So, also, I don't. There is the counter argument that like they are funding companies through their stock purchases. So they're kind of propping up the economy that way. So it's not necessarily the worst thing, if you know what I mean. But
Yeah, we're playing devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
I think that we both are kind of
yeah.
pretty strongly against it. What are the chances that you think that will pass if you're willing to speculate on that?
I think if Nancy Pelosi wasn't Speaker of the House, then it would pass.
Yeah.
But I think they're going to do everything that they can to delay it. I mean, she's been outspoken about it and said that she does want to pass it. So we'll see if she goes through with that.
Okay. All right. And it's not just Congress that is doing these kind of like shady trades. It may be people that are working for government agencies as well. You had forwarded me this headline recently. There was an investigation from the Wall Street Journal, and the headline reads, government officials invest in companies that their agencies oversee.
Yep.
Take it from that article. It says that hidden records show thousands of senior executive branch employees owned stocks in companies whose fates were directly affected by their employers' actions.
Mm-hmm.
So obviously we're seeing a little bit of pressure on Congress to ban insider trading for congressional members. Are we seeing is there any kind of legislation or push to ban trading and force like government workers or people that are at least high up, to put their money in a blind trust?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that this bill covers executive branch as well.
Okay.
And yeah, in that article, it was crazy. Like someone at the EPA was buying oil and gas stocks. And another person at the FDA was buying dozens of food and drug stocks. And these are on the FDA's like do not buy list. So they're legally not allowed to buy them. And they just kind of
went ahead and did it anyway.
Yeah.
How often do these people actually get in trouble or caught for these things?
Dude, I think it's very rare. When they do, it's like a couple $100 fine.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a big deal.
I don't know if I'm remembering this right. Was there recently an expansion of the SEC in order to kind of combat this kind of thing, or was it the IRS? I feel like there was recently an expansion of some kind of government agencies, and
I'm not sure.
Not that you're aware of.
Yeah.
All right. Want to move on to some other notable insider transactions. I'm thinking you might have some, but one that I noticed: Philip Morris International insiders have dumped $17 million worth of stock, trailing 12 months. Do you know anything that's going on there, or?
Not particularly. I mean, it seems that in times of, recession or depression, sin stocks would do well.
Mm-hmm.
So, maybe they're just cashing out, and then the stock price will, when it's low, and then they'll buy back in.
Sure.
That's what I would speculate. Yeah.
Any other noticeable transactions that you've seen lately that are kind of you think people should be aware of?
Well, it was interesting that Boeing insiders bought like more than $1 million worth of stock, and that was right before they announced that their orders and deliveries are up. Their orders are up by 50 planes, and deliveries are up by like 90 planes. So it's just kind of an interesting timing of the purchase. And what I'm seeing within just insiders at companies in general, there's a lot of insiders buying high-paying dividend companies, and I think that's really the smart move right now. People are trying to make back whatever they lost during this, recession or whatever you want to call it. So that's where I'm seeing it. I'm seeing it in energy and in REITs.
So is that a strategy that you're kind of like committed to at the moment? Is hitting these dividend players while they're cheap?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's the way to go. That's in my investment advisory Insider Stakeout. That's what we're pivoting towards. And we've had even today a couple of our positions are up more than 4%. Jim Cramer talked about one of my positions today, and he was like, "Oh, this could go on a run." And I'm like, "Oh, please, don't."
Oh yeah, because the
don't
Jim
say
Cramer
that.
effect, where whatever he says,
Yeah.
the opposite tends to happen.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, man, I really like your strategy of kind of tracking the financial elite. I think it's obviously a pretty strong indicator of what's going to go on in the market and with stocks. Is there anything else you think investors should be aware of or that you're paying attention to right now before we kind of wrap things up?
I just think doubling down on energy. and try to find those quality, high-paying dividend stocks, at least for the moment.
Okay, great. It's a good
Yep.
piece of advice, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, thanks.
Everyone else, please like, comment, and subscribe, and we will see you next time.